Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about approaches in production and operations management. What the companies are using the approaches for the production of goods and the generation of services would be our today's topic to learn. So if we are talking about approaches, the first approach, that is the most important approach, is the scientific methods. The scientific method focuses on the economic efficiency of the production core of the organization. It views organization as closed system, less affected by external environment. Thus, less emphasis is given to human factor and interaction of organization with external environment. That means scientific methods deal with the core production process without any external hindrances. The efficiency of production core is calculated as output upon input ratio. That means what quantity of goods is produced with how much quantity of input paid. It assumes that this ratio can be increased by economic motivation of production core, that is labor. Taylor, who is often referred as the father of scientific management, he believed in a science of management based on observation, measurement, analysis, and improvement of work methods and economic incentives. He studied work methods in great detail to identify the best method for doing each job. He also believed that management should be responsible for planning, carefully selecting and training the workers, finding the best way to perform each job, achieving cooperation between management and workers, and separating management activities from work activities. Taylor's method emphasized maximizing the output. They were not also popular with workers who sometimes thought that the methods were used unfairly to increase output without a corresponding input in compensation. Eventually, he found division of labor, job analysis, separation of planning and doing function for the workers, and he focused on these type of principles in the scientific management. Then is process management. The process management views management as continuous process of planning, organizing and controlling. Planning includes all activities that establish a future course of action. Organizing includes all activities that establish a structure of task and authority. Controlling includes activities that ensure actual performance in accordance with planned performance. That means when we are talking about production approaches, process management plays an important role because it is talking about the planning of the tasks, organizing of the humans in the task, and controlling all the activities and the human beings who are directly or indirectly helping in the production of goods. Next is behavioral management. If we are talking about behavioral management, it involved in 1920 with emphasis on humans it is found that changes in the work environment affected output more in compared to physical changes. This theory highlights that human behavior in their work environment are extremely complex. Why? Because human beings have different tendencies or the moods which is affecting the work or the production process directly. If the worker is tensed or anxious, then he would not be able to concentrate on their tasks. And if he is in a happy mood, he is going to work effectively and efficiently. So the behavior of the worker affects the production of goods and services. Leadership, motivation, communication, interpersonal relationships, and personal attitude affect it. Thus, the understanding of employee behavior is critical concern to operations manager. Then is modeling management. This is the one of the three primary theories of management. This theory deals with quantities, techniques consisting of decision-making systems, mathematical modeling. If we are talking about decision-making theory, it considers decision-making as primary purpose of management. The mathematical modeling focuses on use of mathematical approach to solve the problems. For a particular problem, the variables are expressed mathematically and suitable model is used to demonstrate different outcomes that would result from the various possible managerial choices. Behavioral management and modeling management, the new role of production manager is to apply all these three theories for conversion of input to desired output. That means we are talking about various theories or the approaches which are either directly or indirectly helping in production of goods in effective and efficient manner. Next, we would talk about human relations movement. The human relations movement was a natural response to some of the issues related to scientific management and the under-socialized view of the worker that ignored social aspects of work. Whereas the scientific management movement heavily emphasized the technical aspects of work design, but the human relations movement emphasized on the human element in job design. The key uniting characteristic of Taylor, Weber and Fayol were the ideas of efficiency produced through either operational, legal or administrative improvements. One of the principal assumptions was an emphasis on rationality. The human relations movement enhanced scientific management because it acknowledged that people's attitude, perceptions, and desires play a role in their workplace performance. With this acknowledgement, for example, managers began to realize that settling disputes was more difficult than the scientific management approach described. The major difference between scientific management and human relations theory was that human relations theory recognized that social factors were a source of power in the workplace. That means the peers or the relationship amongst the peers affects the behavior of the humans drastically, either positively or negatively. While Taylor recognized the existence of social pressures in an organization, he sought to diminish them through pay, that is compensating workers for production, even though social pressure forced workers to reduce production. That means at worker level, monetary benefits play a major role which supersedes the social pressures. Fayol recognized the existence of social issues as well, but he emphasized commitment to the organization as a management technique rather than commitment of workers to each other or to their supervisor. Weber placed emphasis on the rule of law and believed that laws and regulations would guide society and cooperations. If we are talking about Maslow developed motivational theories which Frederick Hertzberg refined in 1950s. Douglas McGregor added theory X and Y in 60s. These theories represented the two ends of the spectrum of how employees view the work. Theory X on the negative end assumed that workers do not like to work, whereas theory Y spectrum assumed that workers enjoy the physical and mental aspects of the work and become committed towards the work. Then we are going to talk about decision models and management sciences. The factory movement was accompanied by the development of several quantitative techniques. F. W. Harris developed one of the first models in 1915, a mathematical model for inventory order size. In 1930s, three co-workers at Bell Telephone Labs, H.F. Dodge, H.G. Romeg, and W. Shewhart developed statistical procedures for sampling quality control. In 1935, L.H.C. Tippett conducted studies that provided the groundwork for statistical sampling theory. At first, these quantitative models were not widely used in the industry. However, the onset of World War II changed that. The war generated tremendous pressures on manufacturing output, and specialists from many disciplines combined efforts to achieve advancements in the military and to manufacturing. After the war, the efforts to develop and refine quantitative tools for decision making continued, resulting in decision making models for forecasting, inventory management, project management, and other areas of operations management. During the 1960s and 1970s, management science techniques were highly regarded. in the 1980s, they lost some favor. However, the widespread use of personal computers and user-friendly softwares in the workplace contributed to resurgence in the popularity of these techniques. If we are talking about production, we cannot leave Japanese technology because this is the one and the most influencing technology in the world which has changed the whole viewpoint of all the manufacturing firms. So if we are talking about Japanese technology, a number of Japanese manufacturers developed or refined management practices that increased the productivity of their operations and the quality of their products, due in part to the influence of Americans W. Edwards Deming and Joseph Juran. This made them very competitive, sparking interest in their approaches by companies outside Japan. Their approaches emphasized quality and continuous improvement, worker teams, and empowerment and achieving customer satisfaction. The Japanese can be credited with spawning the quality revolution that occurred in industrialized countries and with generating widespread interest in lean production. The influence of the Japanese on US manufacturing and service companies has been enormous and promises to continue for the foreseeable future. Because of that influence, this book will provide many of the more aspects. In short, if we are talking about Japanese manufacturer, we have to find the crux of that thing. First is, it is the most finest and the refined manufacturers. Second, it has the highly developed and most equipped technology. Third, they possess most modern technologies. Fourth, services of the industry influenced many countries' sector. And the systems like JIT, one of the finest and the most trending strategy for manufacturing. Next topic that we are going to cover is operations today. If we're talking about operations, what type of operations are being dealt today? It has been explained with the help of a diagram. That means the recent trends in the operations management. First is the global competition. If you're talking about operations, it has taken a large place globally. We are dealing with international companies. We are trading with different companies globally and locally. There is a supply chain management. Without the help of SCM, it is very difficult to survive in operations market. Then is BPR, which expands and says like business process re-engineering. It is also a point of concern in today's time for operations management. There is TQM, very important part for any of the business activities. Without total quality management, without managing the quality of the products or the process or the human beings or the relation amongst the peers and the supervisors and subordinates, it is very difficult to survive. Then there's lean manufacturing, workers' involvement, cycle time reduction. These all are the areas which needs due consideration while working in operations sector. Now we are going to learn about materials management. how do you define materials, or what is material? Anything which is converted, which is reproduced in that form which can be consumed, is known as material, and the management of these materials is known as materials management. Materials management is defined as the function responsible for the coordination of planning, sourcing, purchasing, moving, storing, and controlling materials in an optimum manner so as to provide a pre-decided service to the customer at the minimum cost. It is a core function of supply chain management involving the planning and execution of supply chains to meet the material requirements of the company or organization. These requirements include controlling and regulating the flow of materials while simultaneously assessing variables like demand, price, availability, quality, and delivery schedules. Now we are going to learn about the scope of materials management. There are various scopes. Some of them have been listed below. Basically, the first is material planning and control. This is based on the sales forecast and production targets. The planning of materials involves estimating part requirements, preparation of materials budget, inventory level forecasting, order scheduling, and finally monitoring the performance with a view to achieve the targeted sales and production. Next is purchasing. Correct, prudent, and efficient purchasing ensures to a considerable extent the success of materials management. Purchasing includes selection of supply sources, settlement of terms with the suppliers, order placement, follow-up, and payment to suppliers, evaluating and rating of suppliers, and maintaining good relations with them. Next is stores management and inventory management. This denotes physical control of materials. Materials have to be preserved. Obsolescence and damage through timely disposal of materials have to be minimized. Proper vocation and stocking of materials and maintenance of store records come within the purview of stores and inventory control. While controlling stores, the store's personnel must verify physical stock and reconcile them with book figures. It also covers various other aspects of materials such as setting inventory levels, ABC analysis, determining the EOQs, setting safety stock levels, lead time analysis, and reporting. It comes within the scope of materials management to ensure that there is a smooth flow of goods from the producers to the ultimate consumers. If we observe, we find that at each stage of marketing forces, there is the movement of goods. In a sense, the entire marketing is basically materials management under the integrated concept of materials management. Other related functions are standardization, simplification, specification, value analysis, ergonomics, just-in-time, and there are many more scope of materials management which cannot even be judged. The more the companies are going to expand their business, the more they are going to learn the in-depth analysis of materials management. In a sense, the entire marketing is basically materials management under the integrated concept of materials management. The scope of materials management is not limited to the ultimate delivery of the products to the consumers in proper condition and quality. The widening of the materials management area has taken effect with the emergence of integrated materials management. If you're talking about the importance, after learning about what material management is all about, the scope, we should understand the importance also. In a summarized form, the materials management helps in the proper and efficient utilization of resources, proper production of good, proper transportation, helps in creating efficiency, helps in creating effectiveness, ultimately helps in achieving the goals of the organization, worker satisfaction, customer satisfaction, increase the goodwill in the market, increase in the customer base, helps in improving the product loyalty with the help of customer loyalty and many more. To summarize about this particular unit, we should understand that in the process of development of production management, first came the scientific management, in which every action and movement of workers was attempted to be measured scientifically. After this came the era of human behavior movement, in which the interpersonal relationship was given due importance. If we have learned about human behavior, after that the era came of management decision models, in which decision making was attempted to make more mathematically, incorporating all the variables affecting the firm. Followed by this was the Japanese management philosophy, which attempted to gain total quality in business process. Having seen all these, materials management gained significance and it incorporated various functions in the ambit of its scope. Thank you. That's all for today.